The Italian artist Caravaggio, known for his dramatic use of light and shadow, was exiled from Rome after killing a man in a brawl. He spent the rest of his life on the run, and his death in mysterious circumstances in 1610 has led to speculation that he was murdered. Michelangelo Merisi da Caravaggio, usually known simply as Caravaggio, was an Italian painter who lived from 1571 to 1610. He is considered one of the most influential artists of the Baroque period and is known for his use of chiaroscuro, or the dramatic contrast between light and shadow, to create a sense of realism and depth in his paintings. Caravaggio was born in Milan, but he moved to Rome in his late teens to pursue a career as an artist. His early works were influenced by the Mannerist style, which was characterized by exaggerated forms and heightened emotions. However, Caravaggio soon developed his own unique style, which emphasized the use of light and dark to create dramatic effects. Some of Caravaggio's most famous works include The Calling of St. Matthew, The Conversion of St. Paul, and The Beheading of St. John the Baptist. These paintings are notable for their realistic depictions of everyday people, often shown in dramatic or violent scenes. Caravaggio's use of chiaroscuro, along with his intense attention to detail, helped create a sense of immediacy and emotional impact in his works. Caravaggio's rise to fame in Rome was swift and remarkable. In 1593, at the age of 22, he secured a commission to paint a series of works for the Cantorelli Chapel in the Church of San Luigi dei Francesi, which was sponsored by the French Cardinal Francesco Maria del Monte. This was a significant achievement for a young artist, as the Cantorelli Chapel was an important site for religious art and had been previously adorned by works from prominent artists such as Federico Baroque. Caravaggio's works in the Cantorelli Chapel, which included The Calling of St. Matthew and The Martyrdom of St. Matthew, were an instant sensation. They departed from traditional religious imagery in their gritty realism and focus on everyday people as opposed to idealized figures. Caravaggio's use of dramatic chiaroscuro, which created a sense of depth and movement in his paintings, also set him apart from other artists of the time. Following the success of the Cantorelli Chapel works, Caravaggio secured other prestigious commissions from important patrons in Rome. He painted works for the Ciresi Chapel in the Church of Santa Maria del Popolo and the Chiesa di San Agostino, among others. His works were characterized by their dramatic and intense emotion, as well as their attention to detail and naturalism. Caravaggio's unique style combined elements of realism and theatricality, which set him apart from other artists of the time. His works were characterized by their dramatic use of light and shadow, known as chiaroscuro, which created a sense of depth and movement in his paintings. He was also known for his attention to detail, particularly in his depictions of the human form, which often showed the subject in a naturalistic and unidealized manner. One of the key aspects of Caravaggio's style was his focus on the physical world and the everyday lives of people. He painted common people as well as religious figures, and he often portrayed them in a gritty, unflinching manner. For example, in his painting The Calling of St. Matthew, which depicts the moment when Jesus calls the tax collector to become a disciple, Caravaggio shows Matthew and his colleagues as rough, common men with dirty feet and worn clothing. This approach was a departure from traditional religious imagery, which often showed saints and other figures in idealized, otherworldly forms. Caravaggio's unconventional approach to religious art, combined with his use of dramatic lighting and naturalistic depictions of everyday people stirred up controversy during his lifetime. Some critics were shocked by his portrayal of religious figures as flawed and mortal, and they accused him of sacrilege and blasphemy. Others were fascinated by his unique approach and celebrated him as a revolutionary artist. Despite the controversies he stirred up, Caravaggio's influence on the art world was significant, and he is now considered one of the most important painters of the Baroque period. His style, which emphasized realism and emotional intensity, has continued to influence artists over the centuries, and his works remain popular and celebrated today. Despite his talent as an artist, Caravaggio was known for his volatile temperament and his tendency to get into trouble with the law. In 1606, Caravaggio fled Rome after a violent altercation in which he killed a man named Ranuccio Tomassoni. He feared for his life and knew he would face severe punishment if he were caught by the authorities. The exact circumstances that led to Caravaggio's killing of Ranuccio Tomassoni are not entirely clear, and historians have offered various theories and speculations about what may have happened. One theory suggests that the altercation between Caravaggio and Tomassoni was the result of a debt that Tomassoni owed to Caravaggio. Another theory suggests that the altercation was the result of a romantic rivalry between Caravaggio and Tomassoni. Regardless of the exact circumstances, the killing of Tomassoni was a pivotal moment in Caravaggio's life and career. It forced him to flee Rome and spend the rest of his life as a fugitive, and it also contributed to his reputation as a volatile and dangerous figure. Caravaggio first fled to Naples, where he hoped to find refuge and continue his work as an artist. But his time there was also marked by violence and conflict. He was involved in several altercations and was arrested on several occasions. He was able to secure some commissions in Naples, including the 7 Acts of Mercy, 1607. This large-scale painting, which measures over 12 feet tall, was commissioned by the Pio Monte della Misericordia, a charitable organization in Naples. The painting depicts the 7 acts of mercy described in the Bible, including feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, and visiting the sick and imprisoned. The Flagellation of Christ, 1607. This painting depicts the torture of Christ prior to his crucifixion. It is a dramatic and intense portrayal of the subject, with a striking use of light and shadow to create a sense of depth and movement. These works are all notable for their intense emotional power and dramatic use of light and shadow, which are hallmarks of Caravaggio's unique style. They also reflect the influence of Caravaggio's travels and experiences, which gave him a deeper understanding of the human experience and informed his work in powerful ways. Eventually, he was forced to flee Naples and continued his travels. Caravaggio then traveled to Malta, where he hoped to secure a pardon from the Knights of Malta, who were powerful figures in the region. He joined the Order of St. John of Jerusalem and painted several works for the Knights, including the beheading of St. John the Baptist. The painting depicts the moment of St. John the Baptist's execution, as described in the Bible. St. John is shown kneeling on the ground, with his hands tied behind his back, while a soldier prepares to decapitate him with a sword. The scene is depicted with great realism, with blood spattering from the wound and a sense of intense emotion and drama. The light falls sharply on the soldier's arm and the saint's body, casting long shadows that create a sense of tension and drama. The painting was commissioned by the Knights of Malta, who were impressed by Caravaggio's work and saw him as a valuable addition to their court. However, the painting caused controversy and division among the knights, who were split between those who admired Caravaggio's realism and those who found the painting too vulgar and offensive. However, he was once again involved in a violent altercation and was imprisoned for several days. He eventually fled Malta after being expelled from the order and fearing for his life. After that, Caravaggio traveled to Sicily, where he continued to work as an artist but also became involved in more altercations and legal disputes. He painted several works during his time in Sicily, including the burial of Saint Lucy and the raising of Lazarus, which were commissioned by wealthy patrons in the area. The burial of Saint Lucy depicts the moment when Saint Lucy's body is being laid to rest in a tomb, with mourners surrounding her. The painting is notable for its use of dramatic light and shadow, as well as its attention to realistic details. The faces of the mourners are expressive and individualized, and the folds of the clothing are rendered with great accuracy. The painting was commissioned by the Brotherhood of the Sicilian St. Lucy in Syracuse, Sicily. Despite his travels and continued success as an artist, Caravaggio's life was marked by instability, violence, and legal trouble. Caravaggio's death is shrouded in mystery, and there are still many unanswered questions about the circumstances surrounding it. According to historical accounts, Caravaggio died in 1610 at the age of 38 while on his way back to Rome. He had been traveling from Naples to Rome, where he hoped to secure a pardon for his past crimes and return to a more stable and secure life. However, he never made it to Rome, and the exact details of his death remain unclear. One theory suggests that Caravaggio was murdered by a group of knights who were seeking revenge for a previous altercation in Malta. This theory is based on the discovery of a deathbed confession made by a man named Francesco Marino, who claimed to have been involved in the killing. However, some historians have questioned the validity of this confession, and the theory remains controversial. Another theory suggests that Caravaggio died as a result of an illness, such as malaria or lead poisoning. Caravaggio's work involved the use of toxic materials, such as lead-based paint, which may have contributed to his health problems. Additionally, he was known to have led a tumultuous and violent life, which may have taken a toll on his health. There is also speculation that Caravaggio faked his own death in order to escape his enemies and start a new life under a different identity. However, there is little concrete evidence to support this theory, and it remains a subject of debate among historians and art enthusiasts. Caravaggio was a highly influential artist whose work marked a turning point in the history of Western art. He combined realism and theatricality in a way that had never been seen before, and his paintings were marked by their dramatic use of light and shadow and intense emotional power. Despite the mystery surrounding his death, Caravaggio's legacy as one of the most influential artists of the Baroque period remains intact, and his works continue to inspire and fascinate art lovers today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and make sure to subscribe for more amazing content.